Lynn with Hollywood First Look, and I'm here at Graceland, the legendary home of the king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley. I'm about to talk to Austin Butler and the cast of Elvis, the masterpiece from Baz Luhrmann. Let's take our first look.
There's a lot of people saying a lot of things.
Baz Luhrmann's Elvis comes to theaters this weekend, and it's the film and the performance for which everyone can't help falling for. Told from the point of view of Elvis's longtime manager, the Colonel, played by Oscar winner Tom Hanks, it's a cinematic journey through 3 decades of the music icon's life. Having dedicated 2 years to embodying the King's mannerisms, moves, and singing voice, Austin Butler's performance as Elvis is being hailed as Oscar-worthy.
Well, everybody has been talking about your work ethic. I know that Denzel kind of called Baz and nudged him a little bit and was like, Austin has this incredible work ethic. I would love to know if that's just something that you've always had, or was it a gear that you just went into overdrive, or was it something that you've learned along the way? Because your performance on screen shows how passionate and dedicated you were to this role.
I started acting very young. I was about 12, and then the things that got me, I was so shy, and I didn't have a passion as a kid. I didn't like playing with other children, and I was kind of really isolated. And then I found acting, and it broke me out of my shell, and it helped me to deal with anxiety and shyness and all those things. And it was a lot as well. It was watching. My dad watched a lot of old films, and so like I grew up. The first film I remember seeing was The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. But then watching James Dean in East of Eden, and watching De Niro in Raging Bull and Taxi Driver, and it was those performances that drove me, because I always was comparing whatever I was doing to what they were doing. And
very similar to Elvis.
Yeah, which was a wild thing that I didn't know before I started working on this. And then I had so many years of where you just got to pay the rent, and you're just just taking whatever to be able to pay for gas to drive to auditions and things. And I always wanted these challenges. I always wanted to be really pushed, and so getting whatever opportunity it is, but especially this one, because it's the most. I can't imagine something that will ever be harder than this, And so I just knew that this is that moment to take all of the inspiration that I've ever felt about the art of making movies and all of that, and just kind of pour it into this, And just what a privilege to get to live with Elvis for 2 years.
B.B. King, I think it was just how savvy he was at the time, You would think that, like, it all just happened for these guys, and it's just easy, and they just showed up and they were stars. And it was like, no, there were a lot of obstacles and a lot of conflict and a lot of personal conversations that they had a support group of brotherhood to connect with to keep moving forward in this business. And that was so encouraging for me as well.
I'm sure there were many beautiful moments for you while filming this, but is there one that is particular for you that just kind of holds your heart?
The car scene. It was a big one, and I think it was, we luckily it wasn't on purpose, but we kind of shot the scenes sort of in a linear fashion. So that was the last proper scene that I got to shoot. So it was, a weird parallel, and very beautiful, very emotional.
And in a way, you were saying goodbye. And also saying goodbye.
Yes. It was really emotional. I'm feeling a bit emotional now talking about it. I'm like, whew.
I know that the Presley family initially, it wasn't something that they were on board with.
They were nervous.
Yes.
And they should be.
And there have been so many other films, biopics, documentaries, whatever, that have been done not so well in the past. What gave you the confidence to know that you were going to do right by Elvis?
I really love the way that Shakespeare would take a life and use it to explore where we are now. You have to get something out of where we are now. And that was my mission, and I met with Lisa and Riley and Priscilla early on, but we got estranged because of the pandemic. But I wouldn't say I had confidence about it. I just had a mission. And that mission was every day for the last 5 years, every night, every minute, was to tell the story, having done the research, met people who knew him, surrounded myself with incredible collaborators, finding Austin, working on the music, having classic Elvis sung by Austin, Elvis himself, having all these guest stars in there, is to deliver a piece that is musical, is entertaining, is engaging, tells his story, but is above and beyond everything else spiritual and makes you feel. Because I make movies for the theater. I make movies, I want people to come into dark rooms, strangers, and look up at a story that happens to be about this guy called Elvis and the Colonel, and all feel connected and not lonely. So that's my mission.
The common thread between you and Elvis, both of you lost your moms at 23. I would love to know, if your mom were here, how she would feel about all of this and watching you grow as an actor and just as a human.
My sister was there last night, and I hadn't seen her since Christmas, and it was so moving to get to, because she and I are the only, she's my only sister, and she talked about my mom a lot last night, and that was really, it's that thing where, like, I wouldn't be here without her. She sacrificed so much for me. Sacrificed, she quit her job so she could drive me to acting class and auditions, and she was there, like she was my best friend, and we did it all together. And so I just, this has definitely become, once I learned that about Elvis's mom, and that was the first thing that clicked into me, as far as like, oh, that's the most human thing I can imagine. Where at that point it sort of ended up becoming this love letter to my mom and to Elvis's mom and to him, and so it's very personal.
I'm gonna leave you with this. Your mom is so proud of you. So congratulations, the film was fantastic.
Thank you.
Elvis is playing in theaters now.